Good morning. I'm Kitty Forbush, and I have a story to tell. 16 years ago, Elizabeth Osta was my patient at the Pluta Cancer Center, being treated for breast cancer. I was her primary nurse, which meant I did her teaching, started her IVs, and mixed and administered all of her chemotherapy treatments, listening to and supporting her and Dave, her husband. We developed a very close bond. One day, during a treatment, she gazed at me and asked, "Kitty, what sustains you?" Can I mention a deer in the headlights? I was newly 1 year in recovery from the disease of alcoholism, attending AA meetings and working with my sponsor on the 12 steps, but I did not know what to say to her. Her next statement was, "You have to come to my church." And come I did. My first visit was to the ordination of Reverend Peggy Meeker, where Elizabeth led the procession of all the ministers who were participating in the celebration. Coincidentally, I was having a great deal of trouble with the higher power aspect of AA, as I was a fallen Episcopalian, which is really Catholic without the Latin when I was growing up. To say it mildly, I was blown away by the pure energy of love. I loved the words spoken and the music played. So I dove in. There are people here today who completely enveloped me and encouraged me. I joined the choir. My first time singing was at Reverend Sally Hamlin's last service. We sang Deep Peace, and I don't think there was a dry eye in the church. I think I cried every Sunday for a year, and the Reverend Martha Munson said to me in her gravelly voice, "If you can't cry in church, where can you cry?" Early on, I was asked to become a worship associate, a role I am still grateful to fill, and I served 2 terms on the board. I've helped with MOCA and the annual church auction. I continue to sing in the choir. I sing in our a cappella quartet gathered here, and I sing solos supported by our fabulous music director, Dr. Brock Tischvold. I continue to learn so much from our social justice initiatives, and I crochet blankets for patients at the Pluta Cancer Center as part of our blanket ministry. I have found my spiritual home. I think it was the first line of our affirmation of faith that initially hooked me. Love is the doctrine of this church, and service is its prayer. Ooh, I liked that. I signed the book and secured my pledge of financial support, and I look forward to every single Sunday. And I want to say how much I love this collaboration between our sister churches, First Unitarian and the Canandaigua Universalist Church, to hear more wonderful sermons and feel more love. Should I say more? I could, a lot. But suffice it to say, this is why I come to church. Good morning and welcome to this joint service for the First Unitarian Church of Rochester and the First Universalist Church of Rochester. Yoo-hoo! This is amazing. If you are here for the first time this morning, we especially welcome you. Thank you for making it to this worshiping community. Following today's service, there will be 2 opportunities for connection. There will be a drop-in small group ministry for folks who would like to go deeper with today's worship theme, held up in the Chalice Room and online. This begins directly after the worship service. And folks are invited to stick around in the Clara Barton Lounge to write postcards together to get out the vote. We will offer coffee hour together with gluten-free snacks provided, as well as snacks for all kinds of dietary preferences. Thanks to all for coordinating this effort. Before we take a moment to turn to our neighbor, let us take a moment to turn towards the camera in the left hand back there and to greet our online worshiping community. Please offer a wave. If you are online, please pop into the chat to offer a greeting. To our online community, please wait to share joys and sorrows until later in the service so they'll be visible to those here in the sanctuary. If you are here at First Universalist, let us take a moment to turn to our neighbor this morning and offer a greeting.
All right, y'all, stop being so friendly. Oh, it's so good to see you all here this morning. It's so good to have you with us. We have some fantastic and fabulous music offerings for you this morning, both from our own Transposing Voices Choir that meets here and rehearses here at First Universalist, and from our fantastic Jubilee Singers. And it looks like they're going to lead us in our opening hymn, huh? Do you want me to introduce that verse? Awesome. So our opening hymn this morning is hymn number 162, Gonna Lay Down My Sword and Shield. It's in your gray hymnals if you'd like to sing it from the hymnal. Lyrics are going to be up here. Our Jubilee singers are going to lead us in it. Please rise in body or in spirit and join with us in singing.
Gonna lay down, gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the river's side, down by the river's side. Gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the river's side to study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Study war no more. I'm gonna lay down my burdens. I'm gonna lay down my burdens down by the river. Oh, down by. Oh, down by. Gonna lay down my burdens down by to study more no more. I ain't gonna study. Oh, I ain't gonna study war no more. Study war no more. I ain't gonna study. I ain't gonna study war no more. I'm gonna shake hands. I'm gonna shake hands around the world. Everywhere, everywhere I roam, everywhere I roam, I'm gonna shake hands, I'm gonna shake hands around everywhere to study war no more. Everybody sing, I ain't gonna study. I ain't gonna study war no more.
Please join me in our chalice lighting words as Ray lights the chalice, our chalice lighting words spoken in unison. We light our chalice as a symbol of the light within us and the life that flows through the world around us. It is our beacon as we search for truth. It is the warmth in our hearts for love, and it is the energy that propels us to action. May we be kindled by our time together.
Please join me in our sung offering this morning. This morning, we worship as two distinct and connected communities. What we need is right here, right now. When we get together, there is a deep power in our connectedness, and it also doubles our capacity to be generous. This morning's offering will go to support both our home congregation right here, First Universalist Church, and it will also be split evenly with the New York Unitarian Universalist Justice, or NUDGE, a statewide advocacy organization that turns out Unitarian Universalists for many different issues aligning with our values, but especially for issues affecting our democracy right now through their UU the Vote campaign. So if you, like me, have been sitting with some fear about the state of our democracy and are wondering what you can do this morning, you can give today. And your generosity will contribute to efforts to turn out voters and to help people make informed decisions when they reach the polling stations. This morning's offering will now be gratefully received, and if you're here in person, you're invited to drop an offering in the offering basket or to give online by scanning the QR code in your order of service. If you're joining us online, please click the link in the chat to be able to give. Thank you so much for your generosity this morning and for helping us to make an impact here in our fabulous state of New York.
Our protection, our feet will never uproot. One body, one mind, we will all stand in line, proclaim the once unspeakable truth. Seamless repairs to the damage we share underneath. We are all flesh and blood. Slowly we rise with our voices entwined. The revival has only just begun. Our minds are our weapons, our souls our protection. Our feet will never uproot. One body, one mind, we will all stand in line, proclaim the once unspeakable truth. Fight with tools. Seamless repairs to the damage we share underneath. We are all flesh and blood. Fight with tools. Slowly we rise with our voices entwined. The revival has only just begun. Fight with tools. our souls are protected. Our feet will never
Fight with tools.
One body, one mind, we will all stand in line. Proclaim the one unspeakable truth.
Fight with tools.
Seamless repairs to the damage we share underneath. We are all flesh and blood.
Fight with tools.
Slowly we rise with our voices entwined. The revival has only
Fight with tools.
begun. Are our weapons, our souls, our protection. Our feet will never
Fight with tools.
one body, one mind, we will all stand in line. Proclaim the one's unspeakable truth.
Fight with tools.
Seamless repairs to the damage we share underneath. We are all flesh and blood.
Fight with tools.
Slowly we rise with our voices entwined.
Fight with tools.
The revival has only
Fight with tools. Fight with tools. Fight with tools. Fight with tools.
This time I'd like to invite up any children who are present or young at heart for a story for all ages. And I will meet you down in the sanctuary. You're not all going to make me do this alone, are you? And make sure you can see the screen for the illustrations. So you might want to be more, or that way, or, yeah, you'll be able to see. All right. So this, one of our tools, of course, to fight for love and justice are words and poetry and art. And so today, I'm delighted to share Change Sings by Amanda Gorman, illustrated by Lauren Long. I can hear change humming in its loudest, proudest song. I don't fear change coming, and so I sing along. I scream with the skies of red and blue streamers. I dream of the cries of tried and true dreamers. I'm a chant that rises and rings. There is a hope where my change sings. Though some don't understand it, those windmills of mysteries, I sing with all the planet and its hills of histories. I hum with 100 hearts, each of us lifting a hand. I use my strength and many smarts. Take a knee to take a stand. I'm bright as the light each day brings. There is love where my change sings. I show others tolerance, though it might take some courage. I don't make a taller fence, but fight to build a better bridge. I talk only of distances from where and how we came. I also walk our differences to show we are the same. I'm a movement that roars and springs. There's a wave where my change sings. Change sings where? There, inside me, because I'm the change I want to see. As I grow, it grows like seeds. I am just what the world needs. I'm the voice where freedom rings. You're the love your bright heart brings. We are the wave starting to spring, for we are the change we sing. We're what the world is becoming, and we know it won't be long. We all hear change strumming. Won't you sing along? And at this time, I invite any children who are present to go with Carol, I believe, to religious education time. Thank you.
And as our kids make their way upstairs, would you please join us in singing our doxology?
I invite you now into this reverent time of sharing the joys and sorrows. I invite you now into this reverent time of sharing the joys and sorrows of our gathered community. If you would like to, you can place a hand over your heart to be able to listen from this heart-centered place. As Kitty places stones in a bowl, I will read aloud the joys and sorrows of our gathered community, and all online are also invited at this time to share your joys and sorrows in the chat. A joy from Catherine Flynn and Kathy Russell. Many thanks to the first Universalist folks who reached out to 300 voters in North Carolina by postcard. This effort was coordinated by the UU community of Chautauqua. A concern from the Caring Committee. On Thursday, Moritz Wagner will have quad surgery followed by a 9-week recovery. Cards, good thoughts are welcome. MJ Curry has a sorrow and a joy. Moritz had a hiking accident and severed the tendon between the quad and knee. Joy for all the help that we have had in the last 12 days since the accident. He is recuperating after surgery this past Thursday. And in memory of beloved friends lost, we name Mary Rapp and Vicki Schwartz, lost these past years. If you have a joy or a sorrow that you are carrying with you that has not been spoken aloud or written down, all are now invited to come to either the altar in the front of the sanctuary or an altar at the back of the sanctuary to choose a stone, perhaps hold it for a moment, and drop it into the vessel of water. If you would like an usher to bring a stone to you, please simply raise your hand. May we now share in this ritual of community care and witness to one another's hearts. We hold this morning that this church is a worshiping community that is meeting in a time of war. We acknowledge the wars and conflicts that are happening in Israel, Palestine, Ukraine, the Congo, and Sudan. We acknowledge that there are more conflicts and wars happening that we are not even aware of. We earnestly pray for these wars to cease. We light a white candle to acknowledge the grief we feel in the sanctuary and wherever we are worshiping from. Let us be connected by our grief. And we light a yellow candle to acknowledge the joy, the resilience, the tenacity found in life that still makes life worth living. Let us be connected by joy to those living through the direct impact and loss while at war in their homes, backyards, and country. We will hold a brief moment of silence to honor the many deaths that have happened this past week due to wars across our world. May all that we hold in our hearts for ourselves, for each other, and for the world be held in this community and be held in the heart of love. Amen. Ashe, and blessed be.
I want to invite you to begin this prayerful moment by placing a hand over your heart. And will you just join me in beating out a heartbeat like this? We center ourselves in the heart as we prepare for prayer, to remember our own humanity, to be reminded of the humanity of others, to take a moment to acknowledge that we are all human beings with hearts beating in this room.
Let our hearts be the source of joy, a reminder that we are alive, a place to remember what we are grateful for, a way to remain connected.
Let us lament the ways we have had to numb our hearts, to turn our hearts off, to turn them away in moments when we have been overwhelmed, when we have not known what to do. Let us acknowledge this truth, and let us hold the griefs we hold around moments when we have had to be numb.
Let us connect to the grief of our hearts, the losses we carry here, the proof that we have loved, the ways that the landscape of our hearts has changed, those we miss and those we cannot be with. These hearts keep us in our larger world.
These hearts keep us in our own humanity. These hearts beat the same as the hearts of those with whom we disagree.
These hearts beat the same across lands and borders, across seas and across species. Let our hands rest silently over our hearts now, and join us once again in stillness together. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so.
In this moment of stillness, please join your voices with me as we sing hymn number 1012 in your teal hymnal, When I'm Frightened. Number 1012 in your teal hymnal, while the lyrics are on the screen. When I am frightened, will you reassure me? When I'm uncertain, will you hold my hand? Will you be strong for me? Sing to me quietly. Will you share some of your stories with me? If you will show me compassion, then may I learn to care as you do. Then I may learn to care. When I am angry, will you still embrace me? When I am thoughtless, will you understand? Will you believe in me? Stand by me willingly. Will you share some of your questions with me? If you will show me acceptance, then may I learn to give as you do. Then may I learn to give. When I am troubled, will you listen to me? When I am lonely, will you be my friend? Will you be there for me? Comfort me tenderly. Will you share some of your feelings with me? If you will show me commitment, then I may learn to love as you do. Then may I learn to love.
So imagine this with me. A room like this one, multi-tiers of seating full like this one, but with actually hundreds of times more people. Everything is bedecked in red and white and blue. There's bunting and fans, and the people, well, red, white, and blue is still the theme, but as my sister pointed out later, when I was wearing my characteristic black, I stood out for not wearing blue. I didn't seem to fit in. It was something I'd been preparing for some time to go to, and I wasn't alone. I was with my colleague, Reverend Lane-Mairead, and, well, Reverend Dick Gilbert as well came, and on our way to this place full of energy and fur and hope and passion, we ran into some challenges. Our car broke down. Members of both of these churches passed us by, and I have to wonder, what is church? But we're all learning together, I get it. And we found ourselves there in this arena full of people, hearts beating together, drums bringing our energy up, inspiring speakers, and power plays that I have never seen before. I have to say, despite all my reservations, it was there in that moment, under the fireworks and surrounded by red, white, and blue, and exceptional people, that I have never been more proud, despite all my reservations, to be an American. This was the Bills game, of course. And what a spectacle it was.
This past week brought my mom into town, and we found ourselves sitting on the couch together, watching a different sort of spectacle. Certainly red, white, and blue were present. USA was all the way. We sat together on my couch and we watched the Democratic National Convention. I often enjoy hearing some of her perspectives on politics because we are certainly from different generational backgrounds, as well as from different perspectives politically. But there was one thing my mother and I could agree on during this Democratic National Convention, and that one thing was that this convention felt ever so close to the commentatorship and conversation we had both grown to associate with sporting events. If you watched it this past week, sounds like some folks did, there were announcers analyzing what people were saying and who was invited to the stage and how certain folks interacted with each other. Different veterans of the political party were offered slots for sharing their expertise. There were musical guests and continued comments about who was wearing what. And I guess that this year feels like what is at stake in our democracy, in our democratic process, is so much more than a spectacle. Doesn't it? There were moments when, to me, I was concerned. Moments where it felt like it wasn't quite an authentic encounter with our democracy. Like we were not taking seriously the responsibility and the charge that our democratic process calls us to. Yes, our democracy is about who we choose to fill an office, and yes, it is about the policies we vote for. And this year, it feels like the decisions are so much more strained. Have you felt it? Yes. Like what is at stake is whether or not we can hold the nuance of knowing that our system is not necessarily living up to our ideals, while also participating in it. What is at stake is that we must vote for sure. No question about that. And we also have to be in relationships of authenticity and care for one another. Democracy this year is about more than voting. Access to voting is so important and crucial, and it cannot be the only thing that we do to help keep the fabric of our communities and our society intact. I am wanting to explore with you all and with our communities, holding the reality that we must vote alongside the values that we hold. Seeing where the policies of the candidates don't always match our values, being honest about that, and also making the best possible decisions we can in this moment.
Yesterday, David Hawley, a son of Rochester, died at the age of 73. David, who shares a surname with a founder of First Unitarian, went to high school here in Rochester, and at the time was really interested in religion of all types. He was interested in reading about Hinduism, and so he wanted to go to India, and he wanted to learn to speak Hindi. But at the time, and quite frankly still now, Hindi is not offered in high schools around here. So he talked to his advisor, who suggested, how about Chinese? More people speak Chinese as a native tongue, a mother tongue, than any other language in the world. And he thought, sure, why not? Twists and turns took this son of Rochester away from this place to pursue his love of the Chinese language and into the place, as he put it, where the most people are. And so he found himself in Beijing and was the first American to report on the massacre at Tiananmen Square. He had a 40-year career in reporting internationally on democracy, on pro-democracy movements, on anti-democratic tyranny, and on the political science that connects global powers with the United States of America. Later in his life, reflecting on what he saw on that fateful day nearly 40 years ago, David wrote that the China that exists now is essentially and ever presently a one-party system, but its market reforms, its capitalism, its embrace of capitalism, has shifted even what the party looked like on the eve before the Tiananmen massacre. It is more accurate now to call what is happening in China, David wrote a few years ago, as a government by the rich and powerful party. Writing about what he saw in Russia after the fall of the Soviet Union, he spoke too of the economic inequality that he saw while traveling from inner Moscow out just a few miles. Wouldn't those in charge be ashamed to see this? Russians asked. Just a few years ago, a few years before he died, this native son of Rochester talked of the relationship between the global superpowers that he covered and our own. Yes, there are cultural differences. Yes, the ways the political story weaves through history looks different, but essentially a party of the rich and powerful transcends borders. David Hawley, in his work across many decades, invited his readers and later in his life, his students, because he valued personal connection more than blogs and articles and podcasts that would go out across a wide span but would not help him build personal relationship. Invited his readers and students to understand difference deeply, but to know too that a party of the rich and powerful cannot ever treat us all the same.
A democracy that lives into our Unitarian Universalist values and ideals is one that honors and centers all voices. Now, do our congregations do this perfectly in our own democratic process? I'm seeing a head shake. No, absolutely not. We certainly do our best, but we acknowledge that there are ways that voices are silenced or not honored in the democratic processes of our congregations. And can we strive towards this ideal in how we make decisions and how we want our country to make decisions? Absolutely. Absolutely. We hold a high value on truth-telling. We hold in high regard the capacity for human beings to come together to make decisions collectively. And out of these shared values, Unitarian Universalists, I believe, desire a democracy for this country that reflects the voices and the experiences of this country, not just a leadership of the rich and the powerful. You see, while my mother and I were watching the Democratic National Convention this past week, Palestinian American delegates were being denied their right to speak. Very rarely was Palestine even mentioned during the entirety of the event, and often in terms of something folks are working on. Another thing she and I both found ourselves wondering is why the middle class is so often mentioned, and the poor and working class rarely explicitly thought of, certainly not invited to speak. And while these are not identities that I myself hold, I know that the strength of our democracy relies on the ability to give all people a voice. I know that this country has so often failed to make space for the marginalized to have a voice. Think of the redistricting and the disassembling of voting rights that has happened in the last decade or so. I know you carry stories with you. I carry stories with me, ways that there have been active and intentional barriers to valuing all voices. It is my hope that as we collectively dream as Unitarian Universalists of a democracy in these so-called United States, that we can dream of a democracy where people who already hold marginalized identities are not further marginalized by being silenced. I hope we can dream of a democracy where more voices are heard, where all identities are valued for the unique perspectives they bring. It is telling to me that both of our congregations, just with 490 dividing us, are actively undertaking postcarding efforts in order to get out the vote and mobilize people, particularly in states that are too often undervalued in our democracy. It may seem that we have held these dreams separately, but it turns out that our dreams are collective, that we are here today coming together, that our actions must be in sync with one another, and they are. As I've already said this morning, there is a power in our coming together, people power, to make lasting impact and change that is aligned with our Unitarian Universalist values.
In reflecting on watching the DNC, the Reverend Elizabeth Wen, a dear friend and colleague to both of us, someone who inspires me on a weekly basis in my struggle for justice, talked of comparing what she heard on stage to her work, working with people in immigration detention. Not counting those who are detained at our southern border, this country imprisons far more people than any other country in the world. Holding the dual reality of absolutely needing to be active and engaged in national politics with the reality that many, many, many people's lives can still face massive oppression and challenge. The Reverend Elizabeth Wen invites us to throw down as hard as we possibly can for the candidate of our choice, and then to throw down again and again in the weeks and months and years that follow for all peoples. For each of us who is eligible, we must vote.
And we must defend our collective ability to vote.
And that is only the beginning.
We can build a new world for all people where all people truly do have a voice that is heard in the halls of power.
And to do so, we must work to block the threat of tyranny and the dismantling of our democratic institutions.
And we must work to build the muscle in local community needed to truly resist the threat of tyranny.
We're invited not only to vote, but to stay engaged between elections.
We are invited to see voting not as our salvation, but as a starting point.
To see voting as choosing the partners with whom we will work, and we will not always agree, and whom we can ask to do things differently.
To get excited, not only about big names and national headlines, but about what's going on for our neighbors.
To get involved locally.
To build relationship.
by which we mean getting to know our neighbors, literally,
Having meals together.
asking questions,
Listening to the answers.
always learning, always growing,
Building community with folks we aren't necessarily comfortable with yet.
and then caring about those same people
Showing up for them.
and asking for help.
Here within Unitarian Universalism, we are offered an invitation to practice,
To meet others,
to weave relationship,
to love this world fiercely.
and to know that the task of democracy is ours to do, that what we do together matters. Amen.
Amen.
Blessed be. May it be so. Beloveds, it is such a joy to be together with you all this morning. And this morning, we are not just about sitting, listening, we are also about doing. And so as we get into the spirit of doing, our Jubilee Singers, led by Reverend Vertus LeVar Robinson, will lead us in singing our closing hymn, 1024, When the Spirit Says Do. Let us sing it out gladly. Please rise in body or in spirit.
Spirit says do. 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 You gotta do what the Spirit says do. Do what the Spirit says. You got to do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do, oh Lord. You got to do what the Spirit says do. 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 You gotta pray. You gotta pray when the Spirit says pray. You got to pray when the Spirit says pray. When the Spirit says pray, you got to pray, oh Lord. You got to pray when the Spirit says pray. 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 You gotta sing. You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. Let's clap. You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing, oh Lord. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. 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 When the Spirit says sing.
Please remain standing as Reverend Vertus extinguishes our chalice flame this morning, and let us read together the words printed on the screen here in this space. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in, until we are together again. I'm going to invite now our online community to turn your view to gallery view so we can take a look at you and be here in this space with you. And as we close our service this morning, it's good to be with y'all. As we close our service this morning, I'm going to invite you again to place a hand over your heart. And to also take a moment to just look around here at who is here with you now. As we remain connected with one another, we must look into the eyes of one another. We must remember what a beautiful gift it is to be here together. Dear ones, for heaven's sake, vote this year.
Yes. Amen.
For heaven's sake, go forth into your days ahead and remember that to vote is a start. Let us remember the deeper calls of our democracy to be in relationship, to care for one another, to be in relationships of authenticity with our neighbors. We know that none of us does this alone. May you yourself know that you are loved. And may you go and be that love with your voting, with your actions, with your feet, to whomever you meet in the days ahead. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so.
For our postlude, for those who are not used to it, we're going to actually do a postlude today. And again, these are the Jubilee Singers. We're a new group under my direction, Reverend Vertus, under the supervision and support and advice of our music director at First Unitarian, Pablo. We are so glad to be before you for the first time in this building, in this institution, and we're going to sing a song by David Frazier by the name of I Need You to Survive. And the words are, I need you, you need me, we all a part of God's body. Stand with me, agree with me. We're all a part of God's body. It is his, we're gonna say her and their too, will that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive. So when you feel the spirit, if you will, whatever spirit that is, please join us in singing I Need You to Survive. Oh, by the way, we rehearse on first and third Tuesdays at First Unitarian, and we're going to try to come to First Universalist too. That's pending. All right, got to get on the calendar. All right, so come and join us. Whether you can sing or not, come sing, sing with us. We'll make a joyful noise together. I need you. I need you. You need me. You need me. We're all a part. We're all a part of God's body. Stand with me. Stand with me. Agree with me. Agree with me. We're all a part. We're all a part of God. It is his will. It is his will that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive. You are important. You are important to me. I need you to survive. I need you. I need you. You need me. You need me. We're all a part. We're all a part of God's body. Stand with me. Stand
Agree with me.
Agree with me.
We're all a part.
We're all a part of God's body.
It is her will
It is her will
that every
be supplied.
you are important.
You are
Important to
me.
I need you to
Survive.
You are important to me.
You are important to me. I need you to survive.
We're gonna sing that one more time. I need you. I need you. You need me.
You need me.
We're all a part.
We're all a part of God's body.
Stand with me.
Stand with me.
Agree with me.
Agree with me.
We're all a part.
We're all a part of God's body. It is their will that every need be supplied.
That's beloved community. You are important to me.
I need you to
Survive. You are important.
You are important to me. I need you to survive.
And we're going to change it up and we're going to say, I pray for you. I pray. You pray for me.
You pray for me.
I love you. I need you to survive. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you. I need you to survive. I pray for you. You pray for me. Please rise if you're able. I love you. I need you to survive. And I won't harm you with words from my mouth. Yeah. I love you. I need you to survive. I pray for you. Will you pray for me? I love you. I need you to survive. And I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you. I need you to survive. Tell somebody, I pray for you. You pray for me. I love you. I need you to survive. And I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you. I need you to survive. We're going to take it up. I pray for you. You pray for me. I love you. I need you to survive. And I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you. I need you to survive. I think we're going to take it up another one. You pray for me. I love you. I need you to survive. I love you. And I need you to survive. I pray for you. It is their will, it is their will that every need be so. You are important. You are important to me. I need you to survive. Thank you. Blessings. Amen and ashe. May it be so.